we're spending so freaking much money right now. We're just printing money. I think the Russians I think they saw how we did our withdrawal in Afghanistan as a green light. They're like, we got this. Americans are weak.
Before we're even out, China's there to negotiate the stuff with the Afghan government. What is the United States' biggest external threat right now, in your opinion?
I get asked that, and I always turn and I'm like, I think the biggest external threat is actually an internal threat. I think we're spending so freaking much money right now. We're just printing money. And what are we at? I don't even know how many trillions of dollars in debt we are. And I'm not a finance person either. But wow, like checkbook in, money coming in, money going out, doesn't make any sense to me. And like, you can go to 110% of debt against GDP, nothing to worry about here. And when you get to 200%, usually your government's going to collapse, your economy's going to collapse. So I'm kind of right there right now. And I think the other stuff spins out from it, to tell you the truth. So like, until we get our house in order here, we're just getting taken advantage of. If we were looking at this as the as the opposition force, you and I were like, let's see how we should screw with America. It would probably be all the things that are happening now that in our nation, and also we'll go back to Afghanistan. I mean, the way we pulled out of there, everybody wants to say it was not everybody, but some people want to say nothing to see there. Just it's one of those things. But I really think that showed our belly to the rest of the world. What happens after that, Shawn? You saw it. The Chinese start flying. Dude, they were flying. Well, just back then, they were flying 60, 70 fighters towards Taiwan, crossing into across that line, and then coming back out, just testing us, right? It was like the classic bully thing. I think the Russians I think they saw how we did our withdrawal in Afghanistan as a green light. They're like, we got this. Americans are weak. Mm-hmm. They miscalculated there. So that's my quick answer is I think this internal thing, but it comes back to like a lot of the other things you just talked about in your laundry list of 15 things. Defense industrial complex. What's our national strategy look like? How do we engage in the world economically? So,
well, why do you? So
yeah, let's argue.
I said external threats. You brought it internal with our spending. What is that going to do? Explain that to the audience. What is the excessive spending? What's going to happen?
Well, you just brought up the issues with the dollar is being collapsing. Our bread and butter, pun intended, was the dollar was reserve currency. You had David McCormick. He knows all this stuff. I'm like you. I just know that it doesn't sound right, and our greatest strength, I believe, is our economic power, right? I also think it's our informational power. I think the vision of America, of what we want it to be, that we all believe in, we don't always achieve it. I got all that. We can go on all day about that. So I think the informational element of power and the economic element of power are critical. They call it the dime, right? Diplomatic, when we're doing strategy, when you're at the Pentagon or at the White House doing strategy, diplomatic, there are 4 tools of power: diplomatic, information, military, economics, right? And it's how you bring those together is what your strategy is. And obviously the first question is, what are we trying to do with the world, right? And that's why I thought the last administration was neo-isolationist, which was like, pull everything back in. Let's get our house in order here before we start going off and trying to fix the rest of the world. Because like your business people, what do you do when things are unstable and chaotic? You hedge. Don't put any bet too big on any one thing. Do a little here, do a little there, see how things work out. So I'm worried right now we're too heavily invested in the military, right? So are the amount of money that we can spend in the United States. They call it discretionary spending, meaning it's not tied up in Medicaid, Medicare, or Social Security. The rest of the budget, like I looked this up online and it was the government accounting office, like 60% goes to the military. You can't even find out how much goes to information. Diplomacy is a couple percent, maybe 6%. Economics is Department of Treasury, really hard to nail that down. I'm like, let's go ahead and recalibrate a little and let's put more into economics. Let's put more into information. Let's put more into diplomacy. That's my thing. And so that's why I think it's incumbent that we're too strategic overreach, they call it. You know, we're engaged in too many places. Let's collapse it in a little bit, just like you're running your business. Well, hey, going to be lost an advertiser. My income stream's going to drop by this much. I'm going to have to make adjustments in something else. That's where I think we should be right now. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
Or is that too like talking pointish?
No, it does. And you know, changing course a little bit. We were just talking about the Chinese, Afghanistan. I mean, I feel like we missed a tremendous opportunity there with the lithium. The Chinese were there to negotiate those lithium minerals before.
What was that about? Why didn't? Yeah.
Was there?
Do you think there was a big? Are you're thinking was there some sort of big play with all these companies, these corporate elements?
Well, I'm wondering why we didn't make some kind of deal with the Afghan government on bringing that lithium to light and making batteries, especially with this big green initiative. I don't know if that was ever on the table. You would be obviously more previous to that information than myself, but it seems to me we missed a major business opportunity with the world by not utilizing the lithium in Afghanistan after we'd been there for 20 years. Then we leave. Before we're even out, China's there to negotiate the stuff with the Afghan government.
Makes you wonder.
I mean, do you have any insight on that?
So the negotiations with the Taliban were really, really close hold, super close hold. I felt like I had a little bit of insight, but the guy at the time was this diplomat called Zal Khalilzad. He was doing that. I don't know who he was talking to, whether he was talking to Pompeo, but the details, I think you're onto something though. That's like the art of diplomacy is there had to be some way to do something with that. Because remember, they identified that early on, the rare earth minerals in Afghanistan, like there's that deposit just up there on their border of China is just huge, right?
Yeah. But, I mean, I guess what I'm getting at is, yeah, I'm gonna poke and blame the Biden administration for botching that entire thing. Mm-hmm. Let's take the everything else, everything that happened out of it. The Chinese were there to negotiate that. We knew that they had that. We have this massive green initiative that the government's trying to push right now. So why wouldn't we show interest in those lithium deposits? Why would we let China come in and just take over that to produce the stuff that we're going to have to buy from them eventually? It doesn't make any sense to me. And so a lot of people chalk this up to incompetence. There's so many things that are happening right now that seem to be chalked up to incompetence that I don't believe it's incompetence anymore. I believe it's...
Hey everybody, I'm Shawn Ryan. Click here to subscribe to the Shawn Ryan Show YouTube channel for the hottest and most compelling interviews that you will not see anywhere else. I've also made a playlist of all the previous SRS episodes so they're easy to find. You can find that right here.